shirt off now, loose.
You no longer have to carry 20 crates of
Those
records
crates,
or
yeah.
20, cases of CDs into a venue.
Sure.
You can walk in with a backpack, literally, and play, which is cool. So technology has enabled someone like myself or yourself to really do some super cool things as it continues to kind of evolve and whatnot.
And I think it's fun too. I mean, there are also people out there who do have all these. They think, oh, you're coming in, you're playing from iTunes. Oh, you're using a laptop. But it's funny because they don't get it. They don't think that, if you're using records or if you're using a Pioneer system that is kind of like using turntables.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's digital tools that act the same way as the original. Like I still play on turntables to this day.
Yeah.
What blows most people's minds is that it's a control disc that sends a signal to the mixer, that sends a signal to the computer, back to the mixer, and then out to the crowd. So although it looks like I'm playing from a computer, I'm manipulating the music as it would be original vinyl, which is pretty impressive for some people to see.
I get this, I'm sure you get this. A lot of people, I've had somebody say, oh, you're come behind the deck and watch us do our music and spin. They're like, oh, you're actually doing this live. Like a lot of people don't think you're doing what you're hearing. Like you're just pressing play and you're like kind of pretending. No, they get excited when they see you mixing the song and listening and controlling.
I think there's a lot of different, so the world of DJing kind of spans a lot of different universes, right? There's people that are very calculated and methodical and very technical in the way they play. And then there's people that really can kind of cruise control, press play, let the song ride for a little while. I love when people can actually view the artistry of DJing take place. And where I am with my personal private events is I have created custom DJ booths where people can literally watch me manipulate the music. I want them to see that I'm working. So when the song dips down or they hear the record cut, I want them to visually see that take place because I feel like it creates an experience and also kind of a framework that's
live in the moment,
live.
kind of like a concert. And he touched on the custom booths, and we'll take a look at those in a little bit, which are really rad. But you're right, I think it's cool to be, I always like to say, it's like you're coming to a mini concert. You have the lights and we're performing, as some people think bands just perform. We're not over the top and doing all that stuff, but as DJs, we do perform, not in like a corny, ladies and gentlemen, we don't become those people.
Right, I try not to ever use that WWEF
give it welcome to
announcer voice. Like for me, I don't pre-stack shows. I literally play to the energy of the room. So like every time I go out, I pride myself and I put a lot of time and energy into making this happen to not be repetitive. If I feel myself going back to what would be like considered a crutch, right?
Sure.
I know that this works, I try to constantly change. And the cool thing about culture today is people have ADD, right? So like music is constantly evolving. There's things that are always coming out. So there's always a different way to go. The other cool thing is like energy, families, people, a venue, the type of experience, everything is always shifting so that if you try to do the same thing all the time, that's cool for some, but for me, it's not good enough because it'll never get to that point where it really could be. When I do an event, I want people to leave and say, by far, that was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I've been to 30 weddings in my life. I've never seen something like this. That's what I shoot for.
And he does too. I think it's great and it's inspiring. I know there's people that like to maybe look at it, and there's people who are going to try to copy it, and then again, they can't be you. It can't be us, they're themselves. But I think what's really cool is you do try to look for something that's different. That's why I'm stoked to, grab this conversation with you. You try to, or you do visually, you bring like a different look to it. And I know you put a lot of work into it. It's not just like, you think, you create. And you could follow Jay and SCE Event Group because these guys put out some really cool visual effects. Where does that come from? Is it you by yourself thinking, what can I do?
I think presentation in general is everything, right? I feel like I've worked my entire life to change the painful stereotype of what people kind of associate with a wedding DJ experience, right? Over the evolution of SCE, we've been really, really fortunate to create a team of incredibly talented and incredibly creative people that inspire, that help kind of push one another. Like, I'm never satisfied with the status quo, with the average. I always look to push the
There's a
creative
problem with that,
bar,
right? Me too, though. I'm like, I start itching, and you're like, how can I? This always though.
It's
since I've been
never
young.
enough. You
I
can
know.
never be. It's like, oh, when you think it's the best, it's like, you know what? Go ahead and copy it, because like next week I'm gonna be on another. I'm moving in another direction.
That's where ADD comes in a good form. Like, we can't, even when you're mixing, you're like into a song, and you love it. Like, okay, I feel it. I mean, you do too. Like, you don't know when you should change songs. You don't know. It's rhythm. And
You just, I like see the music. Like, when I play to a room, I watch the crowd, and it's an instinct, right? I respond to what people are doing, and you know, the biggest compliment I can get is, you know, someone that's been to 30 plus weddings in their lives, and they come and they're like, I've never heard someone do what you just did.
Yeah, that's the best feeling, when
know?
you guys say, and you're in the mood, and you say, I've never danced that much before, or I've never danced at a wedding before.
The grandmother who hasn't been up in 15 years, or a bride and a groom literally in tears because you help them create an experience that they'll never forget, right? The entertainment for a wedding is the soundtrack. That's the shoelace that ties it all together.
Exactly.
Because people do remember the ceremonies, but they remember the experience. They don't leave weddings saying, wow, that was the best salmon I've ever had.
Right,
No.
nobody goes home and
They
says
say,
that.
yeah, I had a great time. Like, where's my tie? Like, right? That's what they say, you know?
My feet are so sore from dancing all night.